Hi guys, welcome back. Have a Yu-Gi-Oh market watch today. We're going to cover some buyouts that are going on in the market and just some other cards that I wanted to look at that could trend up here shortly. I am at work, so hopefully I can get through the whole video without pausing or stopping. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the market watch. The first card I have for you today is Crossout Designator. I'm going to refresh this because this has been going up, but this is one of the cards I've talked about quite a bit on this channel. It's just a great card, and it is now around 50, going up towards $52. This is a card I talked about when it was down towards 28 and 30, and before that when it was up at 100. But I basically was saying, make sure that you have your copies when it was down at $28, because this is just a card that it was just waiting for buyout. I think specifically people asked me what price I thought it could kind of cap out at, and my guess was around $55. It's around 52 now. And I might have to readjust the $55 cap because it could go higher. It just depends on, if people continue to adopt this and play it. But yeah, hopefully you got this before now, because it's pretty expensive now. I mean, you're going to be paying 150, bare minimum for a play set. And do I think it's worth it? Yeah, but at the same time, like it's, there was just a way better price point to get these at. So investment wise, I wouldn't buy it at this price. Even though it could still potentially go up, I think there's better cards to buy at this price point. I think this is pretty high. And I do think that it probably will come back down a little bit before moving back up, maybe like 40 to 45. And that'll probably be the best opportunity to pick these up. And it might just keep going up. We might not ever see that cool off. So just keep that in mind. For the ones that, for those of you at least that pick these up at 28.30, you won big time. You just made $20 per copy. Next, I wanted to touch Illusion of Chaos. I noticed this card is down in price quite a bit. This is being used in the based strategy along with Magician's Souls. And we were seeing this up towards 50. And this was early on in this set's life. But now it's kind of came back down to 30. But if you wanted to pick this card up, I think now is a great time to do it. Eventually this summer, we will get a reprint of Magician's Souls. And as long as, this stuff doesn't get touched on the ban list, I really do think that this price will go back up once we get a cheaper version of Magician's Souls available. But other than that, it's just a great card to have in your collection. Sorry, just checking work. Next is Dynamorphia Theresia. These have cooled off a little bit towards 20. If you really wanted these, I don't think this is a bad price to pick them up at. Like I said, hopefully you pick these up when they were $8 to $10. But they are 20. And I suspect once we kind of get past the release of Ghosts from the Past and people start remembering that the rest of the support for this deck will come out, I would suspect the price will go back up again. How high, I don't know. I don't know if it'll hit 30 again. That was pretty crazy. I do think that this card could settle in around 22 to 25, but I never suspected it to hit 30. But I guess time will tell. We'll have to see how it plays out. It could cool off another $1 or $2 from here, but it's up to you whether you want to pick these up or not. If you are going to invest into this card, though, I would maybe see if it's going to cool off a little bit more. But if you just need this card, I probably wouldn't risk it and just go ahead and grab it. Okay, so I know we covered this in the last market watch, but I wanted to kind of recover this in a way. So I had a comment saying that I'm, completely wrong, saying that this card is bad. And first off, I wanted to say, thank you. Obviously, I do want this to be a discussion channel. So if you think I'm wrong, or you have a different opinion, or you agree, whatever it is, like, let me know, as long as you're respectful. Like, I really enjoy these conversations. But I guess I kind of wanted to expand on what I was saying. I don't think this is a bad card, whatsoever. I think this is a crazy good blowout card. My issues with it in practice and not in theory is that it can be very situational, which is one of the things that the person that was commenting pointed out. And situational tends to be a problem for me personally. I think if you're playing, Despia or Branded or whatever, if you want to put this in your side deck, that's perfectly fine. I think it's worth doing that. However, if you are saying, this is a card that should be main decked, I am going to disagree with you there, because we do have a lot of Flunderies players and, rogue players right now. Like right now, you can compete with a lot of rogue decks. And we see a bunch of different decks making it to the top cut, like Sky Striker, and some other decks like that. But the issue is let's say you're playing Branded Despia and you main deck this, and you're thinking that like, okay, well, 50% of my matchups theoretically should be, other Branded Despia decks. Well, what happens if you get, a weird lineup and you're playing Flundery, Sky Striker, Tinyi? Well, then this card's basically dead because you don't have any cards in your extra deck that are, you can reveal to like punish them. Especially Flunderies, because they don't really play anything in the extra deck except for targets to kind of throw out for their pot of prosperities. So I guess that's what my main point I wanted to say is I don't think this is a bad card. I do think it is good. It is situational, as you mentioned. But I think that it deserves a spot maybe in the side deck, depending on what you're playing. But I just don't think it's a main deck card. I just think one of the main points besides that I was trying to make is the secret rares are quite a bit up in price. I do think that these are great to have long term. But we do usually see things calm down. There's just quite a bit of hype right now. It's like buying Dogecoin at 75 cents. It's just not a good idea. You just wait for things to calm down and then pick it up as you will. But if you did want to play this card, like I mentioned last week, there is the Advent Calendar and the Legendary Collection Kaiba that are nice looking ultra rares if you want to do that, and they're cheaper. But as far as the secret rares, I would wait. They were also saying pick up one of the reprints because they look, really good as well. Yeah, I wasn't arguing that either. I think I've had the reprint before and I've had the original before. They both look really good. They almost look exactly the same. But that was not the point. I do think it's a crazy cool looking card. It's great for the collection. I was just saying I wouldn't buy it at this point. As far as like the max rarity version, I would wait for it to cool down a little bit. Hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but I just wanted to, make sure I wasn't disagreeing with you. But moving on. So Libromancer, Geek Boy, we talked about this too, but I just wanted to point out, I said, I think they're at $6, $6.50. I said, if you have them, you can sell them, but I would probably hold off like I am. I did end up selling mine today for $11 a piece, but they are $11 to $12 right now. Which is crazy because like I said, not too long ago, these were like $1.99 to like $2.50. They don't have this in the OCG because this is a TCG exclusive. So we don't really know how this deck is going to fare. I think there is a little bit of hype because like in theory, each like these, Geek Boy and the new monster we have coming out are absolutely insane. But as a strategy as a whole, I don't think that anybody has really came up with a awesome deck that I would consider tier 1 as far as what I've seen so far. So it'll be interesting to see people play around with this and see what they can end up doing with it. But yeah, if you still have these, I would probably start offloading some. If you want to keep, a few to play with or a few to like, gamble to see if it'll go to like 15 or 20, like that's fine. But I would offload the majority of the extra copies you have for the $11, $12 mark. Moving on, I wanted to go over Joker's Night from King's Court. Looks like I had the ultra rare pulled up. I don't know why, because I did have the. That's weird. I did have the collector's rare pulled up, so somehow this got in. But we'll cover this as well. These are around $6.60, which I think is not too bad. They are down a little bit in price, but not by much. This $4 mark is really good if you want to get that, but honestly, the ultra rares, like they're okay, but I would really rather get the collector's rares. I do have one of the collector's rares. I think they look really good, but that's the main card I wanted to cover. So we're gonna make our way over to that direction. Let's see. Okay. All right. So to give a brief background, I did pick this card up like a month ago or a month and a half ago for $23. And I talked about it at that time. And I think whenever I got it, I showed it on one of my videos. But it just has a really good potential down the line for mostly rogue decks, but potentially, you know, if a level 5 deck comes out, this is a pretty good extender. You can send one Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your deck to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card becomes the name sent of the monster's sent name until the end phase. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one of the light warrior monster in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. So the reason I like this is you can, you know, play one of these cards or play, you know, 2 copies of 2 different ones, and send to the graveyard every turn, get this free special summon, and then add this back to your hand and send that card back to the deck. So for level 5 decks or something that can play this card, it's just really, really good being able to, you know, get this extender every single turn. So I would just make sure that you have these. They are up a little bit. There's one here for a light play for like 25-ish with shipping. And then we're at $30. And then bottoming out towards 33. So it is moving up a little bit in price. Let's see if I can get like better price history. Yeah, as you can see here, you know, this is back kind of when I bought it in this 23 range, and we've just been steadily moving up, you know, now into the 30s. I would just get this before it gets too expensive. It's still kind of a cheaper collector's rare, but I really think that this card will continue to go up over time. Next is Gravekeeper's Trap Hole. So I want to mainly cover the secret rare, but just do know if you want this card, there is a cheap, you know, ultra rare that was from the Mega Tins that's under $1. But this card is really, really good. It is a little bit slow for today's game. But basically, if your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand or in the graveyard, you get to banish that monster. No, not banish it, sorry. You get to inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent and then negate that effect. Also, that's where I was getting the banish from. So it's if your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand, graveyard, or when your opponent's monster would be banished, you can negate its effect and inflict 2,000. So sorry, that was kind of screwy, but these are going for $4.20 light play and then up to $6 for near mint, which is super fair. This was 20 to 25, almost, I think almost at one point it was $30, especially when there was some trap tricks hype when this hadn't been reprinted yet. It's from Eternity Code. I just think it's a really good card to have in your collection, and then also as a staple in your binder. You know, you never know when you might need to play this card. It's a great way to counteract hand traps. The problem is you can't really counteract hand traps unless you're playing Rafflesia, because you need to be able to get access to this your first turn. Of course, it's a trap. But yeah, if you're playing any level 4s, you can make Rafflesia. This is really, really good because you can, it's, you know, essentially kind of like a ghost spell, but a lot slower, obviously. But the fact that you can also negate a monster effect in hand and inflict the 2,000 damage to your opponent, like that's really good too on game 3. I would really recommend picking this card up. When I play Rafflesia, this card is just so good, especially in trap tricks, because it's really hard to inflict a lot of damage to your opponent just because you don't have very many like big beefy attack monsters in the deck. So, you know, if you get 1 or 2 of these off in a game, that does a lot of work for you. Not to mention you're getting 2 negates. But the ultra rare is fine to get to, especially since it's under $1. But if you had the budget for it, I would get the original secret rare. Next, somebody wanted me to talk about Get Out from Rising Rampage. I'm only going to cover the secret rare, but there is ultra rare reprint that's very cheap. Unlimited is going to be $3.90, and then late play first is $4, and then going up to $4.50 for near mint first edition. That's perfectly fine. I think this is a great card to have in your binder, just as a investment for over the long term. Just because, like, I would say, like, this card and Witch's Strike specifically kind of get buyouts from time to time. Witch's Strike is still really expensive right now, actually. But this card looks amazing. I do have this in my binder. I have one unlimited, one first edition secret rare that I just picked up from somebody at locals. But at the time, it was like $1 because this was like a couple of years ago. But yeah, I would recommend, if you have these, hold on to them for sure. I wouldn't offload them yet. I don't know if this is like the #1 pickup for $5. I think you'd be better off going and getting Gravedigger's Trap Hole. But if you have these, I would hold on to them for the time being. Next is Solemn Strike. Since we got that rare reprint, these secret rare copies are much cheaper. You're looking at $8.50 for unlimited, like light play unlim, which was $15 to $16 before that reprint. Near mint's $10 for unlim, and then we will look at first edition as well. It's probably going to be more towards 15. Okay, light play 13. That's really, really good, especially since you can get 2 of them. And let's see, near mint might be, I guess, probably a little bit more then. I'd probably choose filters, but I didn't figure it would be this far back. Near mint is 18. So I would just, if you want the near mint, that's fine. I understand if you only want near mints, but I think the light play first edition for $11.99 sounds really, really good. But yeah, I mean, these are like almost halved in price from where they were. So I would make sure you have yours. And if you don't want to spend that kind of money, because if you're going to get the unlim Breakers of Shadow, just go ahead and get the Mega 10 version, because it's going to be a lot cheaper. I know these are more towards like 7 or 8. So $7.50 for light play first edition. These look amazing. I have these personally. Actually, I will show you if you wanted to see what they look like. I actually have 2 of the Mega 10 and 1 unlim original print, just because that's the person that I got them from. That's just what they had. But here's the Mega 10 reprint. Lighting is not going to show it off too good. Trying to like get the foiling in there, but yeah, the lighting is not too good in here. But yeah, if you wanted a nicer version of Solemn Strike, or as an investment, of course, like that's a great card to get. And then the other thing to note as well is some of the cheaper holos are also good pickups, especially since they're around $1 as well. If we look at, let's say, Dual Devastator, these are around $2, which is pretty good. Not a lot of stacks here, really. There's a couple here for two copies for $2.25. If you wanted to buy bulk Solemn Strikes, the rares are actually really good too. Just keep in mind you will have to hold on to those for quite a while before you see any kind of big increases. But it could be as little as a year. We'll just have to see kind of how the game goes. Oh, I did want to note too that the collector rare is like around 45 to 50. And I really want those as well, because the ultimate rare is just kind of ridiculous. It's up at like $300, but the collector's rares actually look really good. I do like what they did with them. Some people don't like them, but go find a picture of them and decide for yourself. But I think at 45 to 50, it's just it's really cheap. Next is Hulk. So the pre-sales are still going for 14. Like I said, hold off on that. It hasn't changed, but it will change soon. We do get the set in a couple days here. The originals, I mean, are 21. Like, it's going to be the same rarity as the reprint, so I don't really care. Just get whatever's cheapest, because at some point it probably will spend some time on the ban list. So you don't want to, invest into the original print, which is the same rarity as this reprint. However, if you do want to invest in a high rarity, you can get the ultimate rare. And these are going for 100 flat right now. That's really good. I think if you wanted to get this, now's the time to do it. There is one guy here, but he's got terrible feedback, so I wouldn't risk that. You could wait a little bit longer for like release day and see if this comes down towards 89, 90, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go any lower. But I've had this before I sold it when it got bought out to like 170. It looks really, really good. It's a really good looking ultimate rare. So if you want one, I would get it. Next is Mechaba. I picked up a few. I have the first edition secret and I have 2 of the super rares, and I just ordered 2 more because with the Shadal and Invoke stuff, kind of, people are looking at that again. I just wanted to go ahead and get some extra copies of these to sell. I did manage to pick up the super rares for like $1.50 each. Like 2 days ago, it looks like they are starting to move up. Yeah, so like, I don't know if you can get the gold rares as well, but I think they're around the same price. We'll take a look as well. 275 might be a little high at this point for like an investment, like a cheap penny stock investment to like flip. So we're going to take a look at the gold rares as well. These are like $1.30, but you can get, or here's 99 cents, but you can get bulk copies. I think that's good as well, because the thing is, if we start seeing Invoke seeing quite a bit of play, like the gold will be just slightly cheaper than the super. We've seen that time and time again with a lot of cards. Sorry, I'm getting an incoming call. Let me just decline that. We will look at the original secret rares as well. That's my favorite version, of course. It's one of my favorite cards in Invoked as well. It just looks wise, and of course effects wise. So a lot of foreign printings here. 23 for light plate first and 24 for near mint first. That's still really good too. I would, if you want these, I would get them. But to be honest with you, you don't have to rush. Like if you have a paycheck in 2 weeks or whatever, just wait for it, because the thing is this card's been at like $17, $18 for like as long as I can remember. It kind of has a hard time going much up past that. I think long term it will go up, but if you look, it just doesn't move all that much. I mean, yeah, see, it's just kind of stayed the same. Alistairs are up in price too. We'll look at those next. I wasn't planning on looking at it, but we'll just look at the secret rares and not go over the rest of them. These are, let's see, $10. Yeah, it's just on one of those temporary buyouts. It kind of goes between $6 and $12 a lot. Eventually it will start settling at that 10 range, but this could be it. We never know. 9 for 2 is not too bad in there. Okay, DD Crow, I wanted to mention this because I mentioned this like last week to get at like $2, the ultra rare at least, and that has gone up in price. As you can see here, there's a pretty steep curve from 250 to 350. If you haven't got these, I would get them because they are bottoming out towards 4. And all the other copies are disappearing as well. I did see some stacks when I was going through the dual terminal. So if you want to get that, that's also fine. A fine version to get. But this is a safe, ultra rare. Most people are going to be happy with an ultra rare. So I just wanted to point out it is going up. So if that was on your radar or on your pickup list, get it sooner than later. Firewall Dragon is next. I wanted to mention this because we are getting Heat Soul and some other stuff for Cybers. This has gone up in price. This was stabilized around $25 to $28 for the longest time. And it is a little bit bought out now towards 40. There is one left here for 28 or 5. Well, there's 5 copies here at 28, but they're light play. That's fine to get. Honestly, I would get that because we do bottom out to 45 at the end of the page. And honestly, it probably won't come back down for a long time because I think people will soon find that Cybers is really, really good, especially like the at Ignister stuff. I think that's going to end up being a pretty powerful rogue deck this format. Next, I have Arch Nemesis Shadows. We do not have a reprint for this card yet. It is going for around $4.40. There's one here for $4.20. No stacks on the first page. There's 2 copies here for $4. That's not too bad. This card's really powerful. I'm not going to read it because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but come check this card out. We all know that Protos is really powerful, and now is going to spend some time on the ban list. But this card has potential for the future. I would make sure you at least have a copy. This has gotten bought out in the past. If you want to look at the price history, there was I remember this buyout to $12. That's when I sold mine. But it does have spikes, time to time. I think this is probably when Protoss got banned and people were looking at this. But yeah, I would just keep your eye on this card, especially if it doesn't get a reprint anytime soon. Because single print, how solo prints can do sometimes, especially ones that are actually decent. Last, I wanted to go over Blizzard. I had talked about this card a few times in the past. It has always been around the 50 to 60 cent mark, but it is moving up in price. It's now around $1.20. There's a few cheaper copies down here. If you just, for whatever reason, TCG Player likes to sort their favorite players or favorite sellers towards the top. But sometimes you can find some cheaper sellers and, a page or two in. But I would make sure you have a play set of these because only reprint is a common, and this card is really good. Like you can stop like Forbidden Droplet or your Dark Rulers, and it's a quick play spell card. So I don't know. It's just one of those cards that you can play if you're like really susceptible to like board breakers like that, which a lot of people are. It is a kind of more of a side deck card, and it's not really seeing play right now. But this is one of those cards that can see a buyout with any kind of hype, especially since this is from Rise of the Duelist and it's a super rare. But that's all I really wanted to go over. I will say I've looked through the pre-sales, on TCG Player for Ghosts from the Past. Don't buy into them yet. Like wait for release. On release day, towards the afternoon, I'll talk about where the prices are, if I think you should buy or not. I'll try to do my best to keep you informed and make sure that you're, saving your money and not, wasting it. But with that aside, I guess that's going to be the end of the market watch. Like I said, when I get back this week, though, I will be doing a video with the White Mexican at some point, and we'll be doing that giveaway for that sealed booster pack. I can't remember now which one it was. Which one was it? We'll go over it. Actually, I can't remember which one it was because I have 3 that I'm going to give you the option of picking, so I'm going to update it. I can't remember what that one was, but we have 3 total, like I said, and you'll get to pick if you win which one you want. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys on the next one.